Hey guys, it's Eddie here from Delete Property. This video today is all about purchasing properties in different states, and out of certain states within Australia, which state am I buying in right now, what I would personally recommend, what have I done the last decade, and I hope this video gives you a bit of insight about my opinions and experiences on it. So we get hundreds of questions every single week about which state's the best one to buy in. Is it Sydney? Is it Melbourne? Is it Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide, all that kind of stuff? And long story short for me, I've diversified my own property portfolio within Sydney, Western Sydney, Brisbane, Gold Coast, Adelaide, mainly. I haven't personally bought in Melbourne. I have not personally bought in Perth as of yet, or Northern Territory or anything like that. A recent question that I got asked, what about Melbourne? Would you buy in Melbourne? When are you going to buy in Melbourne? I want to buy a property in, the person said they want to buy a property in 800 square meter block in Melbourne as an example. And I guess one of the reasons to cut straight to the chase is that different states, from learning a lot about property market cycles, I've learned a lot about property market cycles, gone through data statistics over the past 30, 40, 50, 100 years, what's actually happened in terms of growth, vacancy rates, rental returns, yields, etc. And basically, if you look at Melbourne as a whole, you will find the yields there, the rental yields are extremely low. So if you buy a property, outer rings of Melbourne as an example, you might pick up a house, let's say it's 700,000. It might only rent out for like $450 a week. So what is that in terms of a rental yield? It might be, off the top of my head, don't know, it's probably 3.5–3% roughly. Yes, it's had decent growth the last decade. However, in my personal opinion and experience, and a lot of other property economists, all the property economists out there, banks, forecasts, all that they kind of do in terms of forecasting growth in the long term. To me, it's a combination of looking at the different states, what the average wages are in those areas. So what are the opportunities in terms of the actual prices to potentially go up even more so than they already are. So I look at what are the yields in those current areas, and if an area has an average yield of a house or a townhouse or even a unit, and it's like 3% already, realistically to me, is it realistic that that property is going to go from 700,000 to 1.4 when it's only renting out for like $400 a week? To me, it doesn't really make sense, especially looking at the wages and proximity to the city. So to me, right now, I'm not buying in Melbourne. I wouldn't personally buy in Melbourne. And we're talking strictly for investment purposes. Like when I buy properties for investment, it's to make money. It's not because I want to buy a place in a certain area or suburb or state just to say that I've got one there, just to be fancy or cool or anything like that. To me, it's about the return that I get from the property and which area, what suburb, what state is going to realistically have more growth. What state's going to have more of a rental return than other ones, and which ones am I going to get a better return on so I can make more money and ultimately, be in a better position financially. So with some other videos you might have seen, like I've bought many properties recently in Sydney and many properties more so in Brisbane. The Brisbane market right now, if you watch other YouTube videos as an example from other property investors, successful property investors that actually have 20, 30, 40, 50, hundreds of properties, they are always diversifying their portfolio. So if you live in Sydney, if you live in Melbourne, if you live in Perth or Northern Territory or wherever, one of the things I would strongly suggest is do not just limit yourself to that market, because all the most successful investors in the world, they diversify in different states. So right now, the reason why I'm buying in Brisbane a lot is because, and have been for the past 2-3 years, is because of the rental yields are extremely high. And the capital growth is outperforming a vast majority of the rest of the states out there in Australia. So if you look at, there's different data, statistics, property economists, this has been on the news as well. Even during COVID, last year in 2020, Queensland was one of the only states out there to actually have the most growth compared to Sydney, Melbourne that actually went down. Now we've got a post-COVID property boom that's happening. All states are pretty much rising, I would dare say. But Queensland has been a market that to me, it's very much undervalued in general as a whole. The wages are very similar to Sydney and Melbourne. They're not too far behind. There's a lot of growth that can be had. You can still get properties for 300,000, 400, 250, under 200 within a 20-kilometer radius of that city. Whereas if you're buying that in Melbourne or Sydney, they'd be quadruple the price, the yields are 2%, 1%, 3%. So it just doesn't make sense from a financial standpoint. So to me, that's why a lot of investors right now, if they already own property, maybe one or two in Sydney, Melbourne, they are diversifying. No matter who you speak to right now in 2021, even 2022, which is coming up within the next 6 months, Brisbane is going to be that place. And even if you want to contact us, send us an email, happy to send you through some data statistics. Like, this has been all over the news. And even as an example, the population growth and migration of people moving from Victoria, people moving from Sydney, moving to the Brisbane market, moving to Queensland and the Gold Coast. It's gone through a cycle. It's going through a cycle right now. And the supply and demand, there's definitely an issue there because the prices are rising very, very quickly, which is fantastic. I've seen properties that are picked up for 300,000 last year, as an example, during the worst periods of COVID, now get valued at like 500,000, almost double in value within 12 months. So that's just a bit of, I guess, information about the market that I am focusing on very heavily now. If you live in Perth or Victoria or Melbourne, if you want to invest in a property to make money, it's not just about buying where you know where you live. If you stick to only buying where you know where you live, then odds are you're not going to get very far because you've got to take emotion out of the equation. And to me, I live in Sydney, but I bought many properties in Brisbane. If you want more information about how we can help clients buy properties interstate, we take everything from start to finish. I guide clients through the process. From buying property, securing property off market, bank repossessions, urgent sales, distress sales. Get in contact with us. We can email you some more information. And I hope this video helps. And thanks for watching. See you guys. Bye.